is Andrea Marola. After Andrea, I have Kealakehe and Kealakehe.
Mahalo kia kua. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha to all Kanaka Maoris and non-Kanakas. Kanakas. This is big. The Department of Interior is here on Moku Kealakehe. My name is Andrea Helani Aquino Marola. Daughter of Ida Kalani Kapu. She is the daughter of Kanona Ula Okala and D. Kealoha Paoli. To answer the question, no, Aole. My dad was from the Philippines, A.Q. Aquino, whose family governs the Philippines. Today, at the age of 11, my dad explained to me he was never became an American citizen. Because Hawaii is not part of America, he says. It is an independent nation. So that proves uncle about we will never ever get our kingdom. We still exist. Since the hostile imprisonment of our beloved Queen Lili Okalani in 1893, our people have been forced to abide by the laws of the United States. In 1898, the U.S. extended their territory to the Pacific by the annexation of Hawaii through the U.S. Joint Resolution that is deemed illegal under international law. In 1900, the United States considered Hawaii a territory, and in 1959, Hawaii becomes a state, and the apology bill comes in. This is where we're all today. I stand before you to speak for the kupuna, who are no longer with us. I stand before you to let the voices of those who signed the Ku'e petition against the annexation of Hawaii in 1897-1898 be heard. I stand before you to represent my family and all Kanaka who now that our monarch with illegal overthrown and our Aina is illegal occupied, I stand before you to ask the Department of Interior, Department of Justice, Secretary of State, John Kerry, President Obama of the United States to make it right. We Kanaka say, ho'oponopono. Give us back our lands, our nation, to self-govern. In Akua's name, mahalo.
And Kealakehe Wilson. And after Kealakehe is Kealakehe Ku'ipo Freitas.
Aloha iai kākou. Aloha Kealakehe Wilson. If you stand behind the Queen Lili Okalani, her letter to the President and the Ku'e petitions, when I say eo, you respond with ea. Eo. They gotta be together. I'm gonna show you organized and unified now. Ready, set, eo. As I call for sovereignty, they will respond. And I'll try and share other things that wasn't shared that Hawaiian people had to go through over 100 years. Population decimation, biowarfare by disease, 1 million to 40,000. That's a war crime called genocide. Ew! Highest rate of incarceration, that's another war crime. Ew! Brainwash of 99% Kanaka Maoli from their native tongue. That's a war crime called Americanization. Ew! Highest rate of suicides caused by illegal occupation. That's another war crime. Ew! Highest rate of drug and alcohol abuse because of the war crime, illegal occupation. Ew! Highest rate of homelessness and evictions, diaspora. That's another war crime. Ew! Natural resource extinction, decimation, destruction. That's another war crime. Ew! We like us work with you guys. We tried. In 1920, Prince Kuhio Kalanianaole went over there to make the Hawaiian homestead act. All my kupuna would die before they got any land for you guys. And you guys like give land, look like one matchbox. You can't even grow a mango tree without looking out the window. So that's my example of you guys working with us. That's not going to change. Everything just gets worse and worse and worse and worse until we don't want nobody. So, e Kealakehe kako, e Onipa kako, e Holonua, ko Hawaii pai aina, e o.
Hold on. Okay, I have Pt.3, and then Hanale Kiana Aina.
On behalf of all of my ohana who cannot physically be here, and I say we, I represent them as well as myself. We stand behind our king and our queen and all of our kupuna who signed the 1897 Ku'e petition, which clearly states the perpetuation of fraud, whereby the constitutional government was overthrown, the violation of international laws and rights towards our people and our friendly nations we have treaties with, and an act of gross injustice. This resulted in 121 years of our people struggling and suffering because of ignorance of our people, due to the forced colonization to this very day, as we continue to be forced to yield to the forces of the United States in order to avoid bloodshed. That's a choice that I still make today to survive. We would like to say mahalo for your time in visiting our communities and listening to the voices of all of our people. I am a Hawaiian educator, and I would like to teach you a Hawaiian word, and that word is a'ole. Could you say the word a'ole? Can you say the word a'ole? A'ole means no. And that is our answer to the questions, is a'ole. With Akua and our kupuna as our witnesses, we leave this message in your hands, and we trust that you will deliver them accordingly. We implore you, the people of the great nation that you represent, that the appropriate people, the United States Department of State, fulfill their lawful duties. And what we want is for the proper steps to be taken to provide justice, equity, and restoration so that the Kingdom of Hawaii may be restored. We trust, I trust, that our people can once again manage our own resources and lead our government in righteousness. And I ask that the United States trust that we will once again honor the treaties that we've had with you from the very beginning. Me ke aloha o ke akua, namako na aloha aina o Kona, mahalo.
I have Pt.3, and then I have Hanale Kiana Aina, and then Edward Ahun.
Ina mai me ke aloha e na makamako ke aupuni mo I Hawaii. Ke aloha nui a ka kopa kai apo. O ku ipa mana Prides ko inoa he kupa wano kia aina nei o Kona. Ka moku pokula ia o na Kona no hai. My name is Ku'uipo Manafredis, and I'm from this beloved land called Kona. I'm not here to reiterate anything that was said in previous meetings on the history of Hawaii, being that you heard it over 500 times. Nor am I here to clarify the existence of our Aupuni Hawaii, our Hawaiian kingdom. It exists, it always has, and it always will. At first, I didn't want to answer your questions because I felt that if I did give an answer, it would give some sense of validity to your question. However, I can't stand here and ignore it, so I will answer it to some extent. Nino Ekahi, question number 1. Should the Secretary propose an administrative rule that would facilitate the reestablishment of a government-to-government relationship with the Native Hawaiian community? A'ole. The Secretary of Interior should not propose a rule to facilitate the so-called reestablishment of a government-to-government relationship with the Native Hawaiian community. This question doesn't make sense, but if ho'ololi kia na wau I kia ni nau, I ku kia ni nau, I ka pono o ka lahu I Hawaii. I'm going to rephrase this question so that it does make sense to us. This should be the question. Should the Secretary of State propose an administrative rule that would require the United States of America to deoccupy the Hawaiian Kingdom and reestablish a nation-state-to-nation-state relationship between the United States of America government and the Hawaiian Kingdom government? Aye. Now, I know this doesn't answer the question that was asked, but let me elaborate just a bit on my reasons for answering no to the question that you have proposed to us. It is impossible to reestablish something that has never been established in the first place. The Native Hawaiian community has never had a government-to-government relationship with the United States of America. The only government-to-government relationship that existed between us were that of two sovereign independent nation states. Kiko Pau. That's it. Nino, Elua, Ekolu, Eha, Elima, question 2, 3, 4, 5, Aole. Deoccupy Hawaii, Aloha Aina, Mahalo.
Edward Ahuna and Charles Young.
To my people, it's like, you know what I mean? The puppet's taking in, so. Anyway, my name is Hanale Kealakehe, I'm representing the Kealakehe family, Kapanui Ohana, and I, times 1,000, answered no to the 5 questions. And I heard that 14 more, but I don't care. Okay. The object, and object to the DOI being here to finalize the illegal annexation. I also speak for the 460,000 that are not part of the latest effort, but are American leaders to steal our country for the 92%. Federal recognition means the DOI will promise but never deliver. Its track record sucks, actually. Federal to United States to America to. The United States has not helped us since or before 1893. When you combine that with the fake Native Hawaiian role, you begin to realize the danger of the nation within a nation process. The occupation is the only legal process. Go back to America, do your job, you are deceived. Now to answer that empty or causing with the hat, only the 40,000 Chinese of Kona Olubalu asked you to come. Contrary to the lies that Oha and Kona Olubalu would have you believe, there are not 125,000 who signed into Kona Olubalu. The fake Hawaiian Royal Commission passed a law to steal names from elsewhere to falsely padded the road. Enough with the lies. The 460,000 Kanaka Maori who did not sign up, do not want to be here. I hope you can see the need to stop this process, which is contrary to the 92% majority. You must know and speak the truth in order to fix the problem. Ku I Kapono, Ku I Ku, Ku I Kapono, Ku I Ku, Ku I Kapono, Ku I Ku, Ku I Kapono, Ku I Ku.
I have Edward Ahuna, Charles Young, and Alakai Kealakehe. Edward Ahuna.
Hello, members from the Interior Department. I'm going to be discussing about the possibility of Hawaii becoming an exchange center here in the Pacific. And I'll be voicing my opinions on Fast Track. The U.S. Trade Representative Michael Foreman is reaching the end of negotiation over the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a free trade agreement almost 5 years in the making. The accord would wrap the U.S., Japan, and 10 other Pacific Rim countries into a humongous free trade zone with almost 800 million consumers, 40% of the global output. It could increase U.S. export by $78 billion a year, create hundreds of thousands of jobs over the next decade. Without fast-track authority, the U.S. won't be able to negotiate the deal on favorable terms, and the Congress won't approve it. That would sideline free trade talks between the U.S. and the European Union, as well as effort to write a much-needed global rule book for trade and service. The Trans-Pacific Accord would improve on NAFTA, generally considered a success in most economic analyses. By exposing countries to lawsuits and penalties, if they fail to enforce domestic environmental laws or deny workers the rights to form unions and bargain collectively, labor and environmental rules would be part of the main treaty, not relegated to a side deal that countries can ignore. I believe that Hawaii could offer a perfect venue towards establishing an exchange center here in the Pacific because of geographics and time zones. Transparency, accountability, innovation towards free markets will be forced towards sustainable economic global growth. I support the President on the Trans-Pacific Free Trade Agreement and hoping that Congress will vote on this matter as responsible Americans. Thank you.
Mahalo. I have Charles Young, and after Charles, Alakai Kealakehe.
Aloha all, aloha council, and welcome to Hawaii Island. My name is Charles Young, and I speak on behalf of myself and my family. I wish to thank the Department of Interior for taking this initial step as an attempt to resolve a very complex issue. The advance notice of proposed rulemaking and solicitation of comments requests comments within a narrow and simple scope. I believe that historical facts support a broader discussion on nation-to-nation status. However, as an initial step, I remain optimistic that this process will eventually lead to the broader discussion. I believe that the Secretary should propose an administrative rule that would facilitate the establishment of a government-to-government relationship with the Native Hawaiian community. However, I also believe that it would be appropriate for the Secretary to first demonstrate upon what authority is the Department of the Interior relying on to establish such a relationship. There are too many unanswered questions as to U.S. authority in Hawaii. Native Hawaiians are already conflicted and divided by this. As a Native Hawaiian, I wish to move forward in collaboration with the federal government, providing we choose the right path. The Secretary can assist Native Hawaiian community by conducting educational meetings for the general public as to the justification for establishing a government-to-government relationship, providing a legal and factual basis so those in Hawaii who would speak against it are provided a public forum to debate the facts. Those qualifying for recognition under a reorganized government should be permitted to work independently from the state or federal government and not limited to existing federal or state law in formulating their own recommendations. The Secretary can also assist the state in this process to register and convene representative discussions among Native Hawaiians. Federal and state governments should be working together, not either. The citizens' roll shall be comprised of those who can trace their ancestry in Hawaii to before 1778 or who can demonstrate that they were lawful citizens or descendants of citizens of the Kingdom of Hawaii. The Secretary can provide the resources to validate the qualifications of those who apply or claim recognition. The question as to substance within the process should be left to those who qualify for recognition, as they may choose to progress in directions on issues that may go beyond the scope of the ANPRM. The Secretary should explore what restitution and/or reparations are due the Native Hawaiian community under the protections afforded them by the federal civil rights laws due to the actions of the United States, past and present, upon the Native peoples and the citizens of the Kingdom of Hawaii. This recommendation, I will summarize. This recommendation is in response to the information in the Federal Register on June 7, 14, correctly calling attention to the United States participation in the unlawful acts leading to the present situation. Native Hawaiians should not be left naked to resolve this by themselves. I have more analysis in written testimony. Mahalo.
Thanks, Charles. I'm going to call number 28, Alakai Kealakehe, and then William Freitas, and then Cynthia Freitas. Do I have Alakai here?